In 2007, a scientific exploration planted a Russian flag at the bottom of the Arctic seabed. What some publicly dismissed as a political stunt was privately considered in some circles a Sputnik-like moment. According to secret leaked cables published by WikiLeaks, the rest of the world began scrambling to make sure they got a piece of the Arctic pie. That's how I came to be at a US Navy facility in the Arctic Circle to observe the escalating tension and activity in the region.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's brisk.
At daybreak, we headed out to rendezvous with one of the 2 US nuclear submarines patrolling in the Arctic.
You know planes, trains, and automobiles? The CNN version, ice planes, helicopters, and submarines.
The helicopter dropped us and our equipment at the rendezvous site, a 3-foot thick sheet of ice several miles away from the base camp. With no ocean in sight, hundreds of miles from the nearest cell phone tower, it was hard to imagine how on earth a submarine would find me.
Are we a go for Iceman surfacing? Over.
An X in the ice indicated where the submarine was to surface. Then the ground started to rumble. With 18 feet of the 353-foot-long Seawolf-class sub on the surface, the ground crew takes chainsaws to cut their way through the ice to the hull. The commanding officer is first up from below.
This ship's amazing. Yeah, amazing capabilities up here.
After weeks underwater, the crew took a few precious moments of fresh air. Then we loaded our gear and headed below decks.
Stationary dive, stationary dive.
TV watch, open 4.5 main ballast tank vents.
Open 4.5 main ballast tank vents, aye sir.
A small camera mounted on the top of the submarine was our only visual reference that we were making a descent 300 feet below the surface of the polar ice cap.
One of the amazing things about a modern submarine is that they're almost entirely self-sufficient, like a biodome. They run on nuclear energy, which means they can virtually go forever. They make their own oxygen with this oxygen generating plant right here. They even make their own water through a process called hydrolysis, where they scrub salt water. So the only thing that actually limits a submarine is how much food they can carry.
The 160-man crew doesn't exactly follow a regular schedule.
The ship is in a 6-hour rotation watch, and so what you end up doing is you end up feeding the crew 4 times a day.
The submarine operates on an 18-hour workday. A sailor essentially gets 6 hours on watch, 6 hours off, and 6 hours to sleep before it starts all over again. After our first meal on board, we began navigating the labyrinthine passageways of the sub. I ran into Petty Officer Joshua Kosan and asked about what life on the sub is like.
This is basically your, home away from home. Opens up, we got a bunch of treats, different things that you need, all your clothes and magazines or whatever you bring underway with you. You can bring any kind of snacks or whatever as long as it stays in your rack. You gotta keep it in here, keep it clean.
Space is such a commodity that every nook and cranny is used for something. Finally, we descended to level 3.
We're taking you now into the torpedo room, which is, quite frankly, the heart and soul of the submarine.
The USS Connecticut is an attack submarine. Designed to be quieter and faster than the Russian Akula-class submarine, it carries an arsenal of up to 50 advanced capability torpedoes and Tomahawk land attack missiles. While it runs on nuclear power, it doesn't carry nuclear weapons. Its purpose is to find subs that do, reminding us of our primary reason for being here. 25 years ago, it was common for US and Soviet subs to be playing cat and mouse underneath the ice. But with the breakup of the Soviet Union, that activity ebbed. Now, renewed interest in the Arctic has brought new players, with rumors of Chinese subs operating in the region, as well as the old guard, US and Russia. As all the nations gear up, the USS Connecticut is preparing for war beneath the sea.
Stand up, station. Stand up, station.
This was just a drill, but the captain reminded the crew of the larger purpose.
Hey, it's always good to do this, even up here while we conduct the exercises under the ice, because this is our main mission, taking this ship into harm's way and protecting our country. So great job getting on station. Hoo-yah!
Choo-choo!
After traveling thousands of miles on planes, snowmobiles, helicopters, even submarines, we had come to a region in flux. What seemed like a cold wasteland masked a rapidly changing environment. Vast resources are up for grabs in the Arctic. Couched in the language of diplomacy, countries are preaching cooperation, but simultaneously preparing for conflict. The Cold War is over, but as I disembarked the submarine, I was left with the feeling that there might be a new type of Cold War underway at the top of the world.